So, this video idea was inspired by a comment I got on my first video where someone said I was biased for saying Elden Ring's game design was better, and then went on to state 749 reasons why they had no idea what they were talking about. They described walking around aimlessly looking for caves and searching up builds to use on YouTube so they could win at a game they thought to be impossible. So today, I'm going to be explaining the reasons why this game is so loved by so many people. So, before From Software dropped Elden Ring in 2022, there was somewhat of a dark period in gaming. Every game was a soulless, marketable, microtransaction-filled wasteland of graphical advancements and buggy releases. Games like Call of Duty Black Ops 4 left gamers craving the original charm and creativity from the 2000s and early 2010s. Classics like Black Ops 2 and Dark Souls were thought to be one-off legends never to be matched in quality by the modern-day gaming landscape. But then, on February 25th, 2022, From Software released a game that would change millions of people's opinions on what a modern game could be. Elden Ring drops and it shakes the world. Open-world Dark Souls? That's like a dream come true. It's accessible, but still hard enough for veterans to enjoy, and the open world makes it non-linear, allowing you to do what you want, when you want. It refreshed the palette of the industry, leading to gaming becoming more relevant after years of cash grabs. On your first playthrough of Elden Ring, you should try to do as much as you can without searching anything up. This world is beautiful, and almost every inch of it is filled with something to do. Some of it won't be for your build, but then you could just use it later when you gain the ability to respec, which we'll talk more about later, or you could even just sell it. Everything you find is worth doing, but you aren't meant to do everything on your first playthrough. You can, but again, it's not the intention. You find what you find and you use what you have, but you have to be able to make decisions for yourself. This isn't the kind of game to have a button to equip your best weapon. You have to decide which weapon you like using more than any other when using anything is viable. But anyways, if you look on your map, you'll see a few different symbols on it. This one is for the area map, this is a church, this is also a church, this is a cave with upgrade materials, this is an Evergel, and this is a minor Erd tree. All of these either have important materials or bosses that drop items, and those are just the things you can see on the map. There's also these guys that lead you to caves, these guys that lead you to caves, bosses just wandering around the surface, obvious castles, obvious ruins, and golden seeds. Exploring and finding all of these things yourself is extremely gratifying. I have over 140 hours in 2 of my characters in Elden Ring, and I explored the whole world on both of them. And there's still items that I did or didn't get on either one, and there's still items I haven't seen, because there's just that much stuff in the game. And even if it isn't all good, it's all worth seeing, purely for the spectacle. Look at these weapons and tell me they aren't worth finding. But they all suck. This one's really heavy, this one's really heavy, and this one's Ash of War is really weird. But I don't regret exploring and finding them. These weapons are super cool, and even just getting to find them is enough reward to justify exploring, even if I don't use it. I don't find it exhausting to fight repeat bosses because I love the combat in these games. I could fight 900 Erd tree avatars and it would still be fun for me. I'm a massive fan of the rewarding combat, and the number of boss fights in this game gives me enough dopamine to feel a large iPhone factory. The options for spells, incantations, ashes of war, spirit ashes, bows, cannons, shields, and melee weapons are ridiculous. There's so many options for how to do damage, and almost every single one is viable, which makes the game extremely replayable, and the upcoming DLC is just gonna add to that. Another thing to remember is that when you defeat Renala, you also gain the ability to respec. You need to use larval tears to change your stats, but this still allows you to infinitely change your build on one character, allowing one to try anything they want to. The boss fights in this game are insane compared to previous titles. The first main boss, Margit, is a serious roadblock for a new player, which is supposed to let you know that you're supposed to explore in other directions, but a lot of players are given the impression that this is just how hard these games are, because Souls games are for hardcore gamers after all. But no, to give my best advice, go north and get the Castleward Tunnel Site of Grace, then go south to the Weeping Peninsula. There's a lot of easy bosses and multiple good weapons and talismans you can get from this area, such as Radagon's Scar Seal and the Rusty Anchor, and there's also a Golden Seed and 3 Sacred Tears. So after coming and exploring the whole place, you should be ready for Market, but if it's still too hard, go to Murkwater Cave and make sure you don't kill Patches. If you come back shortly, Patches will now be a merchant and he'll sell you Margit's Shackle, which locks Margit to the ground for a couple seconds. But now, I think we need to talk about the big rotting elephant in the room. Malenia was the first boss to give me a challenge when I came back to Elden Ring in December. She's so fast and she heals herself, making Spirit Ashes completely useless. She's considered the hardest boss in this game for a reason, and I do not disagree with that opinion because dodging Waterfowl Dance is just like dodging taxes in the United States, nearly impossible. I got invaded by a player using Hand of Malenia and I lost. My armor and vigor are actually pretty good and he just used a Waterfowl Dance and harvested my runes like they were this year's corn crop. I think Malenia's fight is fun, but this attack is bullshit. It makes her heal so much of her health that she might as well just be stealing my flasks and drinking them herself. But I love this boss, and every other boss in this game, because if you don't limit yourself to some imaginary standard, this game's combat is just really, genuinely fun. There's so many aspects to Elden Ring that make it a game that's loved by so many. The beautiful open world with hundreds of hours of content, the wide variety of weapons and builds to be discovered by the player, the many boss fights sprinkled throughout the map whether repeated or not, and the combat is a dance like we've never seen before. Elden Ring is more accessible than any other game that I've ever played. If my friend's dad can get into Elden Ring and enjoy it, then you're just being a little bitch if you say that it's too hard and you get lost. This game is a potentially life-changing experience, and it's worth every single penny, and that is why people actually like Elden Ring.